Dumelang sanbonani, hello South Africa. Ke amogela go nna no la mamoratwa expressions. Ke na host Elena Jacqueline Maphala. This is definitely the place for you to air your views.
I'm your host Umxolisi Wagomasango, and welcome to another installment of E-Expressions. Namhlanje Jack is qhubekela phambili ngenkulumo ezibalulekile around young people and obtaining identification, isn't it? Ezifana nama birth certificates as well as ama IDs. As we ask the big question on the show namhlanje, are government officials failing young people? Now, our first stop, Muntomosha, took us to the Western Cape, where we met up with Uspokazi Tukwayo. Now, Uspokazi tells us a story around how about she's not even able to access some opportunities because she does not have a mere ID, which is the basis and the foundation of her existence in the first place. I guess indaba yake. We're touching up base with Sister Spogazi ozosixoxela kabanzi ngendaba yakhe. Spogazi sibingelele sikwamukele expressions siswami. Akuzithatha usibeke isithombeni about isimo sakho.
From 2016 ndigqibe isikolo azange ngibe anything endiyenzayo. Andikwazi ukustudisha, andikwazi ukuphangela, and worst part nomntana naye akana birth certificate, and engena birth certificate that means andikwazi upaya i-social grant and provide for yena. Andikhuliswanga ngumamam, ndikhuliswe kulo tatam. So from the age of 2 years ndakhuliswa ngodads bam, no-aunt bam, sisters katatam, nakhuliswa zizo. Bathi kwa Home Affairs no, abazukwazi undenzela i-birth without umama, because even if umama unikezela kulo tatam, she must approve kubo. Ayenje just to sign ba it's fine, ndiyamnikezela kulo tatakhe, because they are scared that maybe after years or maybe uzobuya umamam athi into yokubana eyusuwishi Home Affairs, because Home Affairs uvume njani ba ndenzelwe i-birth certificate angekho. For ungena isikolo ndamane ndisiya kwi-social workers, but as time goes on, the social workers told me that I'm over age, just like that. Bona badilishana ne-cases if na 18 and below. There's no way ngoku mdala bazonginceda ngayo.
Akusitshela mhlawumbe ukuthi bofisa ukuba yini?
Yo, I wanted to be a fashion designer, because like good ngezandla zami like to design.
Usizo ongathanda ukuyibona uSiphokazi angithola yini?
Afumane le ID yakhe nomntana akafumane le birth azokwazi ugqibezela isikolo, because ugood ke apha ku designing nokwenza izinto design impahla naye udla ngokuthi bana athi babe ndinele ID benziwe esikolweni lokwenza le design ndifuna uyenza. Akakwazi ukufumana ne-350 sifunyanayo ngabantu, nomntana akakwazi ukufumana i-grant imenza ahamba apha esithubeni akhangela into angazaziyo apha esithubeni azikhangela, and ke ngoku loo nto ke ayikho right.
Yavaccinatwa, can't vaccinate him because I need an ID and was register for izinto ezi-important. Or maybe if you talk funeral, like sometimes they are valid job opportunities. And was no one's a card at bank. And was and zininzi man today. Zininzi izinto impossible, like serious. If family yam nabo bathi abakwazi undifaka endweni zabo. And I'm like ending yami ngafane kamamam, because if mhlambi anything happens abantu igqibeleni mhlambi ndisenosweleka nanyonke ndizabe ndingenayo i-ID.
Do you feel like you have been failed by the government, by the people that are supposed to be helping you?
I feel like government failed me many times in my child, in my mother, that my mother was not able to get a proper funeral, like also from now, because kudala ndihambela.
What would you like to see happening in kule situation yakho?
I would really appreciate if maybe the government or anyone who's in charge of this Home Affairs thing, like providing an ID as my right, because last year I didn't vote. So I'm not in the picture as the citizen in South Africa.
Xolisi, Expressions on SABC. So we are here with this young lady. So she's approached the show because she has, I think, been here for some years now, I think 4 or 5 years, trying to get herself an ID document. So there's been a pillar to post moment where there's a back and forth with the officials here as well as other authorities. So I just wanted to know if there's anyone that's familiar with the case here so we can have a conversation about it in terms of what the entire process entails in order for her to get what she needs.
Sine different roles, so each and every person une duties zakhe. So if uyaqala ukuza ubonwa apha and zikhona officials that deal with people that come for the first time.
Does it normally happen mhlambe ukuthi umuntu would be told they overage, hence they cannot be helped?
No.
Right. So what she's telling is not true.
I don't know what was being said because that didn't get, so it might be a totally different story from what she is saying.
So it's highly unlikely that a social worker would tell you, Guti, you're over 18, we can't help you.
No, we help everyone from birth up until the age of passing.
So asenze so, ngicela unikeze usisi ama details akho manje, so she's able to follow up so she can give us a way forward njengamanje ukuthi sizwe ukuthi what's the way forward and how we sorting this and getting you documentation yakho. Is that fine?
Yes.
We will be following indaba kaSisi Phokazi because we want to know what happens. This is a young person whose life is stuck and essentially can't do anything. So not too far off from where we are, we're meeting up with another young person who's who's 18 years old, who's also been struggling with obtaining her ID. Zikhona sikubingelela sikwamukela sisi. Sithatha sibeke esithombeni ngesituation yakho yokungabi ne-ID.
Buti i-ID yam benyenze last year ngoFebruary. So xa ndifika eHome Affairs bathi bana andiveli phantsi komama wam naphansi komakhulu wam. After 6 months ndayiyoyijonga because last year bendisenza grade 12. So bekufuneka ndibhale nge-ID. So ndayiyoyijonga. Xa ndifika uyoyijonga bathi ba ayikaveli. So xa kufuneka uba ndifumane ibhasari bathi uba andizukwazi ufumana ibhasari ngenayo i-ID. So ndayoyijonga eHome Affairs i-ID. Bandixelela uba kukho ii-documents engazange ndizinikwe last year. Ndibuze ke mna ke njani uba ndingazange ndinike kunini ndiquqa apha ndifuna i-ID. Bathi bona ubana ayike bayazi babe beshawutisa bendingxolisa phaa. So ke ngoku bandifilishisa ndabuya bathi ndizawufumana i-SMS but ke ngoku ixesha liyahamba izikolo ziyavula so andizukwazi ufunda andikwazi ufumana i-learnerships andikwazi ufumana i-internships.
Ndifuna umntana afumane i-ID azokwazi into bahambe esikolweni ngoba nama andisebenzi akho nto ndiyenzayo ndibambe ezotshazi ngelo xesha azokwazi ubheka esikolweni azoba nekamva eliqhakazileyo naye.
Akungitshele ngomthelela ukungabi ne-ID ukube nawo in you being a young person njengamanje.
Kwelinye icala indihlukumeza into yongabi na-ID because akubuhlunganga uhlala elokishini abanye abantwana babona besiya esikolweni. Like sometimes ndike ndingalali ebusuku cinga uba i-ID yam ingaphuma njani. And then ndingathanda uba if kukho umntu ongakwazi undinceda andincede kwangoku izikolo zingekavuli because sezovula ii-walk-ins koo-CPUT nge-14 mhlawumbi iphume okanye ndifumane loo ncedo koloba ndikwazi uya esikolweni because
sikhulume ngento ofisa ukuyibona yenzeka.
Ndingathanda ubona uba abantu bakwa-Home Affairs benenkathalo bayeke ungahoyi i-ID abantwana bakhawuleze bazifumane ii-ID zabo. Le nto ye-unabridged certificate iyasihlukumeza kakhulu because azide ziphume zithathe ixesha elide. Simpasela ntoni ugrade 12 xa singaze thina abantu singena-ID kuthiwa uba masipase ugrade 12 sizokwazi uba siye kwii-universities. So ke ngoku simpasile ugrade 12 asikwazi uya kwii-universities ngenxa yento encinci esibambezeleyo i-ID.
Clearly, a lot needs to be done to ensure that young people on the ground have access to their ID, because being able to have an access to your ID is not just about being able to have access to resources as well as services. It's about your identity and a sense of belonging in South Africa. You are watching Expressions. We'll be back right after this.
Siphinde sinibingele sinamukele, you're still watching Expressions. Now, we've had abantu abasha coming on to the show and reaching out on our social media platforms. Bakhuluma nathi basitshela ukuthi banenkinga phela ngendaba zokuthola ama-birth certificates kanye nama-IDs, which is why we decided to dedicate this entire show to highlighting the plight of ulusha as we ask the big question on the program. Namhlanje, are government departments failing the youth of the country? The next stop takes us to Mpumalanga, eKangala, where we're touching base with Unolthando kanye nosisi wakhe, where they'll be telling us a story sub of how they've struggled at length making sure that they have birth certificates kanye nama-IDs. Take a look at their story. Thembi, asiqale ngawe. Uwe osibizile la Expressions bunenkinga ye-ID. I understand it's been sorted out. Mangasethu sibheke esithombeni ngesimo sakho and what actually happened for ukuthi uzosibhalele Expressions.
It was 2012 or 11. Ama-social worker like sibe busy nabo. Siya eyikolweni bathi bafuna incwadi yase-primary, siye eyikolweni sibuye nayo. But then besiya silanda incwadi yase-primary nama-social worker and then end up ezikibo zingabi ngakithi. And then bagcine bangasizanga uyazwisisa. So ngiye e-high school engekho and then mangenza grade 11. Ngiphasela ka grade 12 kwatholakala ukuthi still ayikalungi, so I had to ukuthi ngidrop out makose ngenze matric for the first time. Ngokuqala ngadrop out and then ngabuyela the following year, but still nakhona azange kulunge because sazama ukuthi silungisa nama social worker, but then na asfail ama social worker.
Khula like unganayo i certificate like ubabona abangani bakho ukhuluma ngale zinto lezi kubuhlungu cause kubuhlungu cause lezi zinto eziningi ama-scholarship amabhazari esikoleni ngizithi ngenxa ye-certificate like into zami nami babuhlungu mangibona abangani nami khuluma ngezinto lezi ngazi ukuthi mina anginayo like ngiyazibuza ukuthi impilo yami iyophelelaphi because nginama-ambitions ngempilo nami ngizama ukushithisa masasekhaya but ema-home affairs basifeyile ama-government yonke into basifeyile, so mina angazi sometimes bene ngicabanga like ukuzibulala because ngiyabuka ukuthi i-future yami ayikho ndawo because ma ungana-birth certificate vele like ayikho into ozayenza empilweni. Yinto le evane ngihluphe kakhulu nasebusuku vele angilali ngicabanga ngizibuza ukuthi mina nginjani ngihluke kuphi kwabanye abantwana ukuthi ngingabi ne-birth certificate kanjani because mina like engeke ukuthi ngishithise sima sasekhaya nami ngiyafuna ubona mama amajabulile njengabanye abantwana like kubuhlungu abanye abantwana bakhona afford intingo zabo ngemali ye-grant but mina ngikhoni ngaphuma mama naye akasebenzi, so impilo ngiphuta under pressure like angikhona ukwenza next. Sometimes vane ngivile lapho nokubhala umsebenzi wesikole because ngiyobhalelana because kuyafana ngiyindawo nyempilo ngihleli la into le yake ngidepressed vele ngisi-right vele emoyeni. Umama wami bekangekho isikhathi lapho abanye ubaba wami akabayenzela, so that thing ukuthi mama bekangahlali nefamily yakhe straight bekahlale kwenye ifamily, so kule family yakhulele kuye ngathi like bafeyila like ukumenzela izinto lezi, so nami nga-affecteka because mama makanganayo nami obvious enye nayo.
Do you feel like you're also been failed by government and government departments?
Yes, well, I think like bangifeyilile because isikhathini esiningi ngidala from I think ngina 6 years lwela indaba le because ngibonakala ngathi into like abantu babayifundele abayenzi bahleli.
If ufailwa abantu like on a hope kibo ukuthi bona bangakusiza kubuhlungu, it's painful because sithembele kibo, but then if uya kibo bona abakhona ukuthi bakusize and bagcina babahashi baba ne-attitude yabo izinto ezinjalo because esikoleni uprincipal she knew ukuthi anginayo i-ID book but then wahluleka ukuthi angisize, azange angisize. Instead of ukuthi angisize like wagcina sekangilahlela izandla naye yabo agcina sekangitshela ukuthi so if ever nginganayo kusho ukuthi angeke ngikhona ukubhala matric and if ever ngeke ngikhona ukubhala kusho ukuthi ngizohlala ekhaya, so yanga-affecta kakhulu because kubuhlungu ukuthi ufunde uphase wazi ukuthi uphasele ka-matric but then awukhona ukuba ka-matric.
Ake sikhulume ngosizo ofuna ukulithola kusozolo sona lesi.
Ngisacela embusweni bake bangizame nge-ID. I-ID anginayo. Ndike ndathola i-ID neminyaka yami isifikile ukuthi ngihola umndende. Ngoku andinayo amaphathukulu ukuthi ngiyofuna ema-home affairs ukuthi ngithole i-ID. Manje mina into engihlukumeza kakhulu labantwana laba enginabo kakhulu udadewethu ongilamayo uyena osemile umele is the hele family nami futhi phakathi nabantwana bakhe ngoba mina ayikho usizo la engilenzayo.
Labantwana bahleli phezukwami. Would ever come someone angisize kulesimo because igovernment ifailile, amakhansela wamafailile, ihome affairs engiyithembile iyafaila ukungilungisela izinto. Kumanje sipakelene njengamagondwana in 3 room yomkhukhu singabantu abayi10 endlini. We have nowhere to go butwami. Akuna sizo esilitholayo. No matter we go somewhere but basilahlela ngaphandle. I don't know ukuthi sise South Africa noma sesisehlane na.
What solutions do you as young people want for our problems afana nalawo wenu?
It's painful ukuthi wena ube uwala South Africa but then kube awunayo and then bayakufila ukuthi ube nayo but then abantu ebangasibala banazo izinto lezi like ene bazithola like kuba simple kibo. So mina just I so wish ukuthi bangayibhekelela kakhulu when it comes to abantu vele base South Africa ukuthi bazama ukuthi babasize.
And of course, we continue with this very important conversation around our government departments failing young people on the ground. It's up to you as a young person to decide. Make sure you engage with us on our social media platforms. We're on Facebook, we're on Twitter, as well as Instagram. We'll be back right after this. You're watching Expressions. Welcome back. You're still watching Expressions, your #1 youth current affairs show. We're putting a very important spotlight on young people being able to access their IDs. I had an opportunity to go to Bakersdale where I spoke to Unozuko as well as Upelani around the issues that they're having because they don't have access to their IDs. And this is what went down. Remote Bakersdale, we're going to be speaking to a young person who's saying, I'm challenged by this issue around IDs and it's actually made so many problems in my life. Let's go and meet her. Nozuko, re nyaka go kwishisha fela re o bile le mathata a mabyang when it came to taba ya hao ya pasa le ID.
Ke ndibe na le challenge le and yazi ukuthi kwenzeke njani because umama une ID. And then 2003 sathathwa ngogogo wami sahlala nogogo wami. Ugogo wami make elwa endlwele ukuthi nibe ne-ID kwafumaniseka ukuthi ugogo wami benze imistake mabenzele umama i-ID. Ugogo wami wafumana umama ena 12 years. Thema nje okwenza i-ID but ifuneka incwadi yasesikolweni and then manifika esikolweni but igama lami aliveli encwadini kuvela ele cousins and then the family yami ubhuti wami oyi-1.
Lento yokuthi ungabi ne-ID iyakufektha kanjani?
Kuba buhlungu kona because abanye i-friends zami ziyafumana like mabe celebrate ama-350 abangenile nangapha nayi 350 and ndingwalapha eSouth Africa and awufika ukuthi sometimes kunomuntu wangaphandle mara uphethe i-ID whereby awuyazi ukuthi wenze kanjani. So into ezinjalo zizwe ezindistressa kakhulu. I feel ukuthi ndi-useless ayikho into endiyiphilelayo because andikhona ukwenzela abantwana bami into abazifunayo. Like last year umntana bekumela e-high school ndendaya kwi-councillor umntana engakhona ungena e-high school manje ndifika i-councillor yathi akunalapha angena khona yena and then ndalwa ngathi bendilwe ngakhona kwafuneka into angene into ezininzi kuze angene.
Yeah, what are your fears when it comes to abantwana bakho?
Ifear yabantwana bami ukuthi bazophila the way mina ndiphila ngakhona and then loo nto yandistressa and yathi manje ye-social work bengixelela ukuthi abantwana bami bangakhona ukuba nama-document if mna ndingasweleka. Ithe mandibuyapho ndacinga twice ukuthi why ndingazibulala ukwenzela ukuthi abantwana bami bafumane into esona so bayi-2 basesikolweni mari lo oyintombazana mela e-high school andazi uzoyenza njani. Lo mfana naye se-high school mara ugrade 12 angeke azayi because akanabed.
Uye kuyiphi i-Department of Home Affairs and Social Development?
Randfontein. Sayi Randfontein basithumela court Western area, e-court e-Western area bathi abadili ngento ezifana nezo.
Yini into ofuna ukuyibona ukuthi yenzakale ukuthi at least isimo sakho sishintshe?
anandaba ngami ngoku and like sendigive upile elifini yami. I just wish ukuthi abantwana bami bona babe nazo i-document bangaphili life endiyiphilayo.
So we are now at our next stop, not too far from Unozuko's place. We're going to be meeting another young person who's experiencing the same challenge around not having access or having an ID. Itoma Gai challenge how, and what has caused it?
Mama I had to move, I go on straight, you know, and nangeka re siele papa because papa ka nangeka re tlhokomele ka magreza o iya. Mama ka ke na South African, papa ke Swaziland. Papa ka ne ana try go riding go nthusa ke kry ID ka mo no and making ID kula bantu laba bathi bayazi kuya cost you know.
Sishela kancane, who are these people buang ka bona ba reng ba ka o thusa ke batho ke Home Affairs ke Department of Social Development ke bo mang gantla batho ba reng ba tla o thusa?
Nna like go tswa go nna ke nagana go ke di scam you know. Home Affairs ba re ke tshikele go Swaziland and no go Swaziland ne mamaka una le difference name ya ka mo and you know ngikwazi ukulantu ukuhlanganisa izinto because there's a mistake eyenzakala eSwaziland.
Khona ngoko grade 12, so hosting an ID, what does that mean for you?
Like akitlokwala you know, and after grade 12 after grade 12 life akitlo nna thata gagolo you know. Without ID, you like close struggle, serious. The deputy principal, we have ukuthi ID uzoyiletha nini, ukwazi ukuthi uzoregister, ube nelandu inamba yakho. And like lento leyo man iyangidla ngaphakathi, you know, because first of all, ne, like angikwazi man. Angazi ukuthi ngayibe kanjani kodwa like lento yangidla you know. Yeah, angikwazi ukuphefumula like mangilala ngicabanga ngayo. Mangisesikoleni sometimes angifili kahle you know, concentrate you know because of the situation. Yeah.
So manje, let's say lenda ID ayisebenzi and you're not able to get the ID. What's the solution? What is the plan?
I must return back, you know. Like little papa, even if mama kawali, like yeah, yeah.
And if you could say something to the Department of Home Affairs or the Department of Social Development, there's the camera. What would you like to say?
I will really appreciate ngitholile ID. Now I'm like ngifuna ukufana nabanye, you know. Yeah, ngifuna ukuzimela. Without an ID, like I feel useless, you know. Yeah. Maybe mangaba ne-ID I will feel like yeah, umuntu, yeah.
So we've come to the end of today's episode, and I think it was really important for us as Expressions to be able to cover the width and the breadth when it comes to this issue around young people on the ground who are saying that they don't have access to their ID. And of course, we appeal to the various departments that are relevant in this conversation to at least bring assistance to some of these young people. Because again, it's not just about an access to just services and opportunities, it's about a sense of belonging and identity. So we're saying, departments, please do not fail young people on the ground, right?
And it's their constitutional right as well to have these documents. Anyway, thank you so much for joining us, namhlanje Gui Expressions. We thank you for your contribution as well in Nkundleni Zethu Zokuxhumana. Muntomusha, we can only highlight your plight and make sure that it gets the expression and the voice, as well as, of course, perhaps also the attention of the relevant bodies. We thank you so much for watching namhlanje. Till next time,
Adios, muchachos. Thank you so much for watching. Bye.